Well, just before we were going to go to live, the heavens opened from the Adriatic coast and sent a massive amount of rain to fall on down onto circuit. We find ourselves today at the Autodromo Nazionale Monza. We're about 5 kilometers outside of the metropolitan city of Milan, and here at a circuit which needs no introduction, a little bit of a spanner thrown in the works for your SIMGEAR F4 Summer Challenge. Not every race this season looks like it is going to be as dry can be, but we will keep an eye out as we head towards qualifying, which comes along right now, the midpoint of the season, races 5 and 6. So after the first race, we will be at that halfway stage, and then everybody else will be looking around to say, how can we make our second half of the season work the way that is intended? My name is Jake Sperry, bringing you all of the action here with SimGear to take you through what has been a very interesting championship. And we start with qualifying, which goes in 3 phases, and I feel that with bright sunshine now beating down onto the circuit on what is classified, as a moderately wet track, that this is going to be a case of who is going to have the best conditions. And the answer to that, I think, looking at the weather forecast, is going to be those who go as late as they possibly can. As far as things go in the amateur category championship, this category split into 3 out there: pro, pro-am and amateur, and then looking around and saying, well, who is going to be on top of the AM category? It is Ivilo Dimitrov who has the clearance by 25 championship points over Nikolai Mikov, and then you've got Radlen Ivanov in 3rd position on 121. Kenny Campos is 4th, just 31 points adrift, getting the consistent finishes required to go scoring the points on 116. And then rounding out the top 5 is Barrios, who is, by the looks of things here today, not available for racing. So that will mean that there'll be no chances to improve there in terms of where they jump through, but an interesting championship dynamic where Ivilo Dimitrov will want to try and push forward as early as possible, find the best of the circuit conditions out there, and try and really ratchet up some great work out there. We find ourselves at the Temple of Speed here, Monza, and this is a Monza in the wet, which is a lot more of a different prospect to that of Monza in the dry. Monza in the dry is one of the most known categories out there of racing, where everybody seemingly has an understanding. You put Monza in the wet, it becomes a much more ferocious beast. Every corner becomes a very, very hectic game of can you make the braking zone or not, and drivers already like Kenny Campos and Radlen Ivanov, who's there on the inside in the green SIMGEAR car, looking to try and find themselves some space to go and make this lap work. You can see those chunkier wet weather tyres, and much more of a raised profile on the sidewalls as they get themselves on to start a flying lap and really trying to work for some room, dueling along the front stretch and over towards the opening corner. Radlen Ivanov is earlier on the brakes, but crucially leans in through the corner, so Kenny Campos falls back into line. That was Eric Wegereif there, leaving tyre tracks in the grass, and will avoid being disqualified by getting back onto circuit and then looking to round again once more. So out of the Variante del Rettifilo, through the Curva Biasino here, turn number 3, sometimes known as the Curva Grande here, this big right-hand bend, which is traditionally flat out, and then over, of course, in towards turns 4 and 5. The Della Roggia here, the second chicane. Work any opportunity off of the exit, and then you've got the 2 Lesmo corners here, the first of 2 90-degree rights. We'll move out of there through the Seraglio and up the hill underneath the old oval banking and into the Ascari chicane. Big puddles then going through Ascari. Now that's going to cause a lot of aquaplaning here, and drivers will have to be very, very alert to what feel they will have underneath, as Ivilo Dimitrov right now sets purple second and third sector times out there, with 5 sectors to go and play with here. It's a green 4th sector because someone else is going purple on the laps, but Ivilo Dimitrov rounding the final corner and looking to make a run over towards the line. What will be the sentiment told from the early stages of this qualifying session? It's a 2:06.6, which is 3 seconds almost quicker than practice times out there, which were set, which is a great indicator that this track is going to be getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Nikolai Mikov in second, and Valentin Stamenkov then rounding out your top 3. As it currently stands, you've got drivers out there like Dimitar Palauzov, Lazar Katsarski is out there looking for times. Radlin Ivanov puts a 2:07 down on the board. And then the likes of Katsarski with a 2:08.5, and Kenny Campos on a 2:10.5, not quite finding the pace in these wetter conditions. You've still got the likes of Alex Plamanov as well, who set a purple 4th sector and goes to the top in the 1:01 machine. They're a 10th clear of the rest of the drivers, and Alex Plamanov has turned up today with pace in the lilac and purple car right now, looking out of something of Joseph's Technicolor Dreamcoat right now. It was red and yellow and green and brown and violet and black and ochre and peach. Is the livery, but there's a Stewart machine right now of Valentin Stamenkov, getting the curb a little bit off of the exit and just about managing to run through the second of those Lesmo corners, looking to really start scampering up for pace up the hill once more. No draft in front, but you will see those rooster tails going along here, where the water gets dispersed off of the tires and up into the air thanks to the aerodynamics behind. Not too much, but still get enough for a pretty sizable spray as you go through the circuit. And Stamenkov here really trying to work. Now, they only get 11 minutes here to set a lap time that they need, and they've already gone through 6 minutes and 20 seconds of qualifying so far. So you can see the nice blue halo being shown as Radlin Ivanov has got a purple 3rd sector in the 1:30. You can see the mock-up 05 Renault colours there behind, the 111 of Lazar Katsarski, who is no stranger to a, I would say, a tribute livery out there. Nikolai Mikov now to a 2:06.2, goes quickest of all out there overall. Now will there be another argument out there on this moderately wet track? Right now, there is no threat of rain coming in the distant future, so it will only dry up as the session goes on. Ivanov goes second, 2:06.3, so was able to improve a little bit, but not dramatically. And there's not a dramatic amount of cars out on circuit because of this staggered qualifying session that we have. There isn't that massive bulk of 30 cars out there to go and really run through where everybody is going to be, who's going to be making sure this track gets drier and drier. It's relying on the more natural efforts to do so, and the work of those drivers already tiptoeing through. Ivilo Dimitrov down in 4th position overall, and this is just of the AM category qualifiers. Expect Pro-Am to get better track conditions, expect then Pro to get the best of the conditions out there, and it might be a little bit more of a traditional situation, and that is what happens for Ivilo Dimitrov, going all out of shape through the second of the Lesmo corners, and that was a case of just tipping the car in a little too aggressively, and I mean only just a bit too aggressively. You can see there having to abandon ship in the 1:08 on the second lap through. This was going up into the Ascari chicane and having to skitter over the gravel to avoid those dramas, but that will drag the gravel and the grass onto racing surface, which will be dramatic. You can see your conditions there on the right-hand side. We are in sim time, about 3:30 in the afternoon, and the track temperature 23 degrees, and I can only help but understand that this track is going to get hotter as it goes. So expect drivers then to deal with a little bit more understeer as it progresses, but they will know that most of that cool track temperature is down to the standing water on the circuit as Valentin Stemenkov goes third fastest. Nikolai Mikov up now to a 2:05.7 with that effort, and it's an indication that this track continues to get lighter and lighter in terms of what is on top of it. I'd expect times in about the 1 minute 40s, if not the 1 minute 30s out there if you have got yourself full dry tyres and a full dry track. So these drivers will be keeping an eye on that crossover. Alex Plamanov with another purple third sector, but the other sectors have not gone the way that's required, and a lot of drivers then deciding that after 9 minutes they are going to feel very happy with their qualifying efforts being done and dusted. I've just seen Kenny Campos, by the way, spin the car on the front stretch, which is an indication of still how difficult these conditions are. I wonder if he's just grabbed the white line as he's gone into his braking zone, or maybe he was just so far out wide that he was in the standing water and his Pirellis had absolutely no grip out there by comparison, and as such spinning around. Lazar Katsarski down into the pit, so will not improve as we are down into the final minute. They are allowed to finish any lap times that they start, but it's only Ivaylo Dimitrov really who looks like he might be threatening Radlen Ivanov as well, with 2 green sectors to go and work with. Radlen is pulling Ivaylo Dimitrov along right now, which will not be part of the plan for Radlen Ivanov, but there are no real understandings that it could be anything else out there that he can do. Needs those times, and it doesn't matter who's behind you, you've just got to drive the track in front. Dancing through Ascari, really having to work the wheel on the exit there did Radlen Ivanov, and you can see there that's the indication of a yellow third sector. Stemenkov green in the fourth sector then, and trying to find improvements on a 2:05.9 running, or on a 2:06.4. We'll see what it's going to be over the line. It's a 2:06.1 by Valentin Stemenkov. That's good enough for second. Checker flag out, so Pro-Am will now be allowed to enter circuit and make their challenge known. But Radlen Ivanov here pushing for the line, 2:05.789, sneaks one over Nikolai Mikov. A big time there. Keep an eye on Alex Plamanov, who's slow in the fourth sector by comparison, and Plamanov right now hoping to try and jump Mikov and Radlen Ivanov here for times and places. Kenny Campos won't improve, but Plamanov straight lining towards the line here. Can he go quicker? 2:06.1. It's fourth place, and it's a very congested third, fourth and fifth, with Valentin Stemenkov in front and Ivaylo Dimitrov behind. So as it goes, then for those drivers, Radlen Ivanov then on your provisional pole in AM, with Nikolai Mikov and Valentin Stemenkov second and third. It then follows Alex Plamanov and Ivaylo Dimitrov, with Lazar Katsarski in sixth, Dimitar Palazov, Eric Veheraif and Kenny Campos making up then the 9 cars in your AM category. On to Pro-Am, not quite slow enough for AM, not quite quick enough for Pro. But for the moment, these drivers have been very entertaining to watch all season, and their championship situation has also changed a little bit and got interesting. It's Joris Ooms who's got control for Mark Speed Racing on 161 championship points, but has Theodor Ivanov behind in second by 12 points, and on 18 points is Tom Cordy in third, who's keeping the consistency value up. It's then a huge gap back to Vladimir Mavrodiev, who is in fourth position, along with Maxim Dimitrov in fifth. So they are 50 and 55 points adrift, and which way you consider where they're naturally scoring in terms of the points, that is a whole race behind at this standard, and they will be looking to try and challenge on back the best that they possibly can. So will there be a small twist in the tail there? Joris Ooms currently the favourite in the championship at this point. We focus with Tom Cordy, and now over to the 54 car of Joris Ooms, who is looking for every single bit of help. Was hoping to have Roy Vervaeke back here for this race, who was absent last time out because of the 24 hours of the Nürburgring he went to go and watch, but not here again on this occasion. So Joris Ooms, not having any help, is going to have to do it all by himself for Mark Speed at the moment, making his way through the opening sector then without too many massive dramas out there on a track surface that is steadily rising, and the water is slowly looking to try and come off of it at the moment, but they are going to be running in track conditions right now, which very much is just after the rain out there at this point. And in terms of an in-sim date, it's May that's running here, 15th of May, so that will give you an indication that it's been a little bit of a spring shower that has gone across the circuit. But for these drivers, it's about putting a lot of pressure down on the boards. There is Teodor Ivanov, and can Teodor do anything fantastic? Purple in Sector 1, purple in Sector 2, certainly looking to show that this is a driver that should be feared over the course of this season, climbing up towards the left, right, left, which comes along of Ascari. There's anti-cut curbs on the inside to protect the racing surface and to avoid corner cutting. Purple in Sector 3 as well, so really finding time in the number 58, keeping it planted down to the floor, heading along towards that final corner of Parabolica, sometimes known as the Curva Alboreto out there, and you can see how much the front wheels do pinch in out there. That's what we call dealing with camber out there, and the camber of the tyre. We'd like drivers to have cars with tyres on a knife edge to go and really attack forward with what is there. Teodor Ivanov crosses on a 2:04.8, nearly a full second quicker than Radlen Ivanov. Joris Erms on a 6.4, had a difficult middle sector to the lap, so couldn't really do too much with it. There is Aleix Casanova in the number 67, crossing and going fourth fastest on a 2:05.9, so indicating that there is still a lot to be found, and it's not as plain sailing as everybody walks away with it. Tom Cordy, by the way, eighth fastest, only just, and I mean only just, ahead of Joris Erms. Here is Maxim Dimitrov right now, who's hoping for a very good time coming over towards the line. The number 56 machine making that progress and doing very well in the off-track racing car, but that just a sighter, I would feel, on a 2:07.6, and looking to make that work out in the long run. Track still declared as moderately wet, and that was not the greatest braking zone into turn 1, so he'll have to abandon that lap and go again another lap later. But Vladimir Mavrodiev now with the fastest first sector of anybody, the teammate to Maxim Dimitrov, and really trying to make it work. We haven't really talked team standings out there overall this season, but it is negative Delta SRT who hold that championship by 22 over Lemon Squad Racing. Mark Speed find themselves third, with ST Sim Racing fourth and Off Track Racing 1 moving up into fifth position in the championship. So it has been negative Delta who have been the team to beat in the front of teams, but Teodor Ivanov has two purple sectors again. Mavrodiev green in Sector 2, green in Sector 3, and once more it is again Teodor Ivanov looking to prove what he's got, heading over towards the line. We're over halfway done as far as qualifying is concerned, and Teodor Ivanov looking to extend that 9/10 of a second margin, crossing the line by another 4/10, 1.3 seconds to the good. Vladimir Mavrodiev might have something to say about this though, crossing, and for the moment Casanova fourth, Joris Erms has gone up to fifth. There is Mavrodiev, goes second, 0.3 of a second back. The times continue to bring themselves on in. Cordy moving to seventh fastest. Maxim Dimitrov still 3 seconds back. But after abandoning that second lap, no surprises there on that attempt. So he's still really trying to work hard to get each and every single point and position out there managed and mastered at this point. The qualifying times really showing the difference here between having the right circuit underneath you and not. And Vladimir Mavrodiev again purple in the first sector. The maestro of turns 1 and 2 out on track, the Retafilo chicane, and over towards now through the first of 2 Lesmo corners. The second one is a little bit more open. You can slingshot your way through it. It runs slightly on camber, but as you attack off the exit, it's very easy to go too wide over the AstroTurf that's left on the outside and spin the car up. Green in sector 2, which means that is a personal best in that second sector for Vladimir Mavrodiev. Joris Ooms with 3 personal bests out there, and same can be said for Aleix Casanova. A little yellow in the middle sector for Vladimir Mavrodiev, trying to run through Ascari, and they're having to take a little bit alternative here, the lines that they would want, as there is the 54 Mark speed car of Joris Ooms looking to make any sort of forward progress. Still a second and a half down in these wet conditions in qualifying, and wanting to prove that it can be a lot better than that as championship leader of Pro-Am. Mavrodiev purple in sector 4. Teodor Ivanov was able to get a purple final sector but couldn't improve on the times as Joris Ooms crosses 2:05.1, goes third quickest with that attempt, but Mavrodiev 2:04.116 now puts the benchmark 3/10 quicker again, and we're not far left now from the end of Pro-Am qualifying. Aleix Casanova goes 4th, now finding improvements. What about Tom Cordy over towards the line? 2:05.8 from Tom. That puts him just behind Nikolai Mikov and Radlen Ivanov. Then those two who are split by not very much, just 12 thousandths, sorry, I'll correct myself, 8 thousandths of a second in qualifying out there. So there are some real tests that are being put to play. Here again comes Maxim Dimitrov now looking to find a representative lap. 2:05.7, much better from Maxim. Moves into the top 5 currently on that 2:05.7, just ahead of Ivanov, Mikov and Tom Cordy. They're in 8th position, so certainly finding the movement there. Heavy over the curbs though from Teddy Ivanov, and Teodor, who has had some very, very good runs, has been the majority championship leader, but after troubles in race 4, or race 3 I believe it was, which led to recovery in race 4, here in race 5 is going to be looking to try and attack Joris Ooms as easily as possible, as quickly as possible, really having to fight the wheelwork through the middle of the corner there. Another correction, trying to catch the car as it danced across the puddle on the inside of the final part of Ascari. They do move over a little bit off the exit of the corner there. That junior layout of the circuit, as it's known, can always be difficult, and all that wheelwork has paid off in that sector for Teodor Ivanov. A purple 4th sector to the lap of 5. Is this going to be enough, charging towards the line, to say I can go quicker still? 1 set of tyres only, half a minute to go, so we'll get another lap at it. 2:04.173 short, but still has another attempt in the back pocket. Joris Ooms now crossing with 20 seconds to go. 2:04.9 does improve again. Mavrodiev, is there anything more? Not on that lap, but now that checkered flag looms for these drivers. 10 seconds away it is. Aleix Casanova 5.2 now finds an extra couple of tenths of a second. Track now declared as lightly wet only, so improvements being made. Tom Cordy goes 4th now on a 5.1, and Teodor Ivanov now. Checkered flag expires as look at the slew of pros that want to be first out of the pit and getting the best of the weather conditions. Now, lightly wet is one scenario, very lightly wet they will look at as the other one out there and go, once we get to that, that's about crossover weather that they will start hitting, and you can see that this is going to be a game of slipstream out there for many a driver who is looking to try and push and prove with what they have got around this long lap. But still remember, the likes of Teodor Ivanov and Joris Ooms and Vladimir Mavrodiev can all find times. Gabriel Ivanov, who's got the highest iRating of anybody in the field at 7,100, leading the pros out there with Alberto Campos, Chris Vrajilov, Kevin Abey after his non-show over at Okayama. You got Gonzalo Prieto, Martin Yankov, Alex Stefanov is here today, Murtol Shaheen also there, along with Christian Novev, deciding to go half a lap later than everybody else. But Teodor Ivanov is purple in sector 2. Vladimir Mavrodiev Mavrodiev is purple in Sector 3. Joris Ooms, the championship leader, personal bests in all 3 sectors out there. Is there going to be a very late qualifying time that changes the scenario at the top of Pro-Am? Theodor Ivanov, is this going to be enough? Remember, 0.116 is what's got to be beaten. No, short 5,000s on his own time, so couldn't improve on it. Joris Ooms now making the charge towards the line. Is this going to be enough to challenge? It's a 4.7, so it gave more buffer room, and Mavrodiev finds an extra half a second, 2:03.6, and says, beat that, to each and every single driver that now looks to gear up, and they play the game of who do I want to be drafting in front of, or who do I want behind me at this stage of qualifying. Well, well, well. In for a real treat now as far as qualifying goes. We focus on the Bitcoin car of Murtol Shaheen, who now really hopes that this is going to be a good session out there. Championship overall in terms of pro and the overall championship is in the hands of Gonzalo Prieto, who is clear by 8 at the top of the standings for Lemon Squad over Martin Yankov at ST Sim Racing. It's then the negative delta drivers, Chris Radulov at 12 points adrift and Christian Novev at 33. Gian Zautavella had a lot of problems last time out, and Zautavella not here today, so effectively conceding out of championship contention. We knew he wasn't going to be here at this round. Murtol Shaheen then in 6th, but could promote up to 5th. And then the likes of Alberto Campos Terrado in 7th position overall. So there are drivers who are thinking that this is going to be their race. No Viktor Varbanov, for example, here today. So that's going to be a little bit of a dent for him, but he's had a tricky first 4 races of the seasons. Kevin Avey is the quickest then in Sector 1. Greens in Sector 2 all around for these drivers on a mostly cloudy base at the moment on this lightly wet circuit that is only getting lighter and lighter. AB running for Matthew Racing here after switching teams earlier on to run the Summer Cup and also the F4 Esports Regional Championship Europe to try and book a place for the regional, for the overall international championship for FIA F4, and now purple in Sector 4. So there's another case of great pace that's being found out there and saying, yes, I can go quick and I can jump up and I can say this is what I'm capable of doing here in terms of qualifying time. Gabriel Ivanov puts a 3 flat down. You can't get more 3 flat than Kevin Avey though. 2:03, stone dead on the nose, is currently pole position. Chris Radulov goes 3rd at 0.6 of a second down. It means now that Mavrodiev's 4th, Theodor Ivanov's 5th, and Murtol Shaheen then with a 2:04.6 can only manage P6 out there. Martin Yankov struggling on that first lap, a 2:05.6 for the number 9 car behind Aleix Casanova. Gonzalo Prieto can only manage a 4.8 as well. So this wet weather condition is really throwing a spanner in the works as Christian Novev now looks to run towards the line. Is this going to be a case of a quick time on board right now? No time set for Gabriel Ricciardo, none for Teddy Minev, for Krastin Stanchev, or for Milen Milchev, who will all currently put themselves in positions to say that they will go from the back of the field here today. But times now become very telling, and Chris Radulov is now purple in the opening sector, yellow though in Sector 2, and is now dropping that time that was won by being very aggressive into the opening corner out there of the lap, the Retafilo chicane. Gabriel Ivanov, yellow in Sector 3 after 2 green sectors. AB, a yellow sector. Radulov again with another one. Alberto Campos with green sectors to go and work with there in the number 10 car too. But leading the pace is Gabriel Ivanov right now. They will play right up until the buzzer out there to get their time done and dusted in this 35-minute qualifying session. And for Gabriel Ivanov, it's a case of, is this track going to fall into his hands? AB Purple in sector number 4, but Gabriel Ivanov now looking to extend that margin again. 202.7, good enough, as AB can only manage a 2.8 and can't jump up much further. No improvement for Chris Vrajilov on that lap, but everybody starting to search. Alberto Campos goes 9th. Murtol Shaheen jumps Teddy Ivanov, moves to 6th position, and Martin Yankov up into P8 right now on a 204.3. This might be a day today of, can you wait for the weather to go the right way? It might be a case of hold on wet tyres in race 1, and if it's light enough here, the circuit, in terms of the standing water, go on to try dry tyres in race 2. We could even see pit stops potentially become a factor in racing. We haven't seen very much of that over the course of this season. We wouldn't expect pit stops on 20-minute races, but it could very well be a factor. Christian Novev remaining in 6th position. In 4th position now as he crossed the line, and now moving up with that 203.3. And so finding enough to say there is more on the horizon. But we are now into the final 6 minutes of qualifying. Heavy over the curb. Look out there for Murtol Shaheen. And you get out on that painted curb, you've got to be so careful, because you lose all the grip. All the water likes to store out on the curbs as well, and so it's a very slippery surface. Yes, it's racing paint as you go on that outside, but it's still not the easiest to get traction and grip on. AB again, purple in sector 2, green in sector 3, and really finding a lot of lap time out there at the moment. Every driver is hoping that this track just dries and dries and dries, and at the moment it's doing exactly that for the drivers who need it to at the moment. AB through the final corner here, and watch out for any dry line that starts to form around some of these corners. That will be a great indicator to those that this is forming the way it needs to, and crossing that line, that one won't count for Kevin AB. A shame there, and off track somewhere on the lap, taking those 2 purple sectors away. And there is a swimming pool on the outside heading towards turn number 1. It's very full today, I would say, with the conditions. Martin Yankov, by the way, diving down into the pits. I wonder if this might be a gamble to go on to dry tyres, potentially. That would be a very interesting game to be seen. Alex Stefanov has gone 3rd quickest on a 202.9. So for ST Sim Racing, that is going to be another driver to focus on who could be very close in this championship, putting a lot of pressure down for a number of quick drivers. So Alex Stefanov is going to be stage hunting, and very much in a good position to do that. Novev with a 203.2 over the line, improves again, but can't get the position improved to go by Chris Vrajilov out there. There are some surprises down the order. Gonzalo Prieto, I think, is waiting for some tow out there. The tyre's definitely cooling down as he stays stationary on the circuit. 204.8 his best, which is 2 seconds off the pace at the moment. Championship leader in a bit of trouble around Joris Urms and Tom Cordy at the moment as far as pace goes. So Gonzalo Prieto might be someone to keep in mind, who will be needing that race 2 tonight here, this 6th race of the season, to go and put together. And look at that from Gonzalo Prieto. Tires on the right hand side, those are dry tires, I would argue, there right now for Gonzalo Prieto. Everybody else is on a wet tire out there, and so for Gonzalo Prieto, looking around, I think he wants some point of this race or this qualifying to go and dry up more, leave it as late can be. The last thing he wants is stone cold dead dry tires, and that's what he's got at the moment. AB now quickest on a 202.750, a 100th of a second clear at the front, and that is a very close qualifying time with how that goes. Kevin AB looking to stage hunt here today. Gabriel Ivanov, Alex Stefanov Chris Vrajilov then trying to keep the consistency up in 4th position. Martin Yankov will be looking at how much can I improve, and will probably want more than 2 drivers between him and Gonzalo Prieto as far as qualifying currently goes. Down to 2 minutes left in qualifying, and crossing the line goes Martin Yankov. This gearing up now for a flying lap and one last attempt, one last throw of the dice. You feel that it's going to work out. And speaking of what works out, remember those times up there on the top, the fastest in each category. The track has moved 3 seconds quicker as it goes. AB again is purple in sector number 2, and there is the wiggling about of Gonzalo Prieto. And I wonder whether all of that tire life has just, oh, that tire temperature, I should say, to be more accurate, has just gone out of the car and is not giving much help at all. Really trying to work to see if it's going to happen. The key with these tires is you've got to keep them warm. That's the one thing you have to do with a tire like this. It's okay having a cold tire, but you've got to generate the heat back up again. And when you've got a wet circuit like this, although it's drying, it is very tough. Avoiding the bump there on the inside and still looking to try and find something. It's going to be a case of last driver out there, and you got drivers slowing up to try and get a tow from cars in front. AB's given up then on attempt as they look to try and play the game of chicken that we see all too often out there. Drivers not wanting to give a tow to somebody else out there. There is Gonzalo Prieto at the moment. Keep an eye on Chris Vrajilov, who's running over towards the line right now. Is this going to be an improvement? 3.7. No, it's not. So that's still not going to be enough to say you've got it over the line, you've got it where you need to. Still lightly wet as far as conditions go. Alberto Campos now moves up into 8th position, and just behind Mavrodiev. Big in terms of lap time as they've gone, but as it's already hit as late as possible with 10 seconds to go. Alex Stefanov now hoping for the line. Won't go better than 3rd position at the moment. Martin Yankov then, as the checker flag comes out, the session finishes. Kevin Aby by 100th has himself exactly what he wants, which is pole position for this race coming up, with Gabriel Ivanov alongside on the front row. It's then Alex Stefanov and Chris Vrajilov on row 2, with Christian Novev 5th and Murtol Shaheen in 6th position. Your first pro-am is Vladimir Mavrodiev in 7th. Great qualifying effort by Vladimir in wetter conditions, with Alberto Campos 8th, Teodor Ivanov 9th, and Martin Yankov on the transfer, because there's a top 10 invert in 10th. 11th and 12th, we just scrolled by. Joris Ohms and Gonzalo Prieto, the championship leader. It's then Tom Cordy and Aleix Casanova on row 7. Maxim Dimitrov and Radlen Ivanov, your leading AM driver, going from 16th, with Nikolai Mikov, Valentin Stamenkov, Alex Plamanov, and Ivailo Dimitrov, the AM category leader, in 20th position. It then follows Lazar Katsarski and Dimitar Palauzov, with Eric Vejhereif and Kennedy Campos on row 12. Leaving the final 4 drivers, Milan Milchev, Krastin Stanchev, Teddy Minev, and Gabriel Ricciardo, all split by iRacing. So 20 minutes of racing action is what puts ourselves into the forefront now. Drivers looking at this lightly wet circuit and thinking, what is the right call by tyre? Is it wets or dries? And I'm looking around the field and I see Gonzalo Prieto on dries and practically everybody else starting this race on wet weather tyres. There is a look as well from Murtol Shaheen to start on dry. So if this track is dry enough, it's a great call, but everyone else erring on the side of caution, saying it's not quite the right conditions out there to make it work. Chris Vrajilov throws on a set of dry tyres. So too does Christian Novev. They're looking at this, thinking, right, we got to do something a little bit different. So now it's a case of the haves versus the haves-not. We got one car starting then from the pits as we get the light sequence starting. That's Krastin Stanchev. Let's get ready. Green flag in the air, and we're underway. What a lightning start then from 4th position there from Chris Vrajilov. Nowhere when Alex Stefanov, who gets swarmed on the long run down towards turn number 1. The rest Filo chicane. So often we see dramas here from drivers who outbrake themselves into this corner, but it's Kevin Aby who's got to start. He wants one car's going to go straight on. That's Vrajilov there, who's got no grip, remember, on those dry tyres, wet track, trying to avoid all of the dramas and just about managing it, but abandoning ship, having to take a slowdown penalty on the opening lap. Valentin Stemenkov has got a jump start here and as such has a black flag penalty to have to serve. So dramatic to say the least. And on the early start of this race, but they run onto the brakes here into the Della Roggia, hoping to give themselves some line. Mavrodiev then with Teodor Ivanov and then Alberto Campos, the middle of the pack now, trying to set their stall out. One car having to abandon ship. That's one that might even be Radlin Ivanov, and it was, who had to try and work a way around there. And lap one is the worst time to get a slowdown penalty, to abandon ship anywhere on lap. Christian Novev slow and struggling off the exit of Lesmo number 2. That brings Alex Stefanov through. Vrajilov still holding his place, but now look out for Christian Novev, because that's Vladimir Mavrodiev who is there alongside as he looks to try and work through. Teodor Ivanov is there, Alberto Campos, Martin Yankov watching this one. Joris Urms currently in the transfer as they go up into Ascari then for the first time and work their way around. It looks like Mavrodiev's done okay through this section, and now it's about that run over to Parabolica. Kevin Aby leading your field right now. Gabriel Ivanov in second. One car way out into the gravel there, going through that section, and further back we're 2, almost 3 wide with the likes of Eric Vegerijf thinking about Teddy Minev and Radlen Ivanov for position. They will go 3 wide, and there's hefty contact. Radlen Ivanov then is into the barriers, and I fear with hefty damage to go along with it now. That's a huge hit for Radlen, who's going to have to try and get that out of the gravel, and that will be all she wrote for that one. Stemenkov down into the pits and in towards turn number 1. We go here on board on the roll hoop, trying to tiptoe through with Christian Novev on those dry tyres. Oh, and there's a spin going through the opening sector. 2 cars went off, and I'm not quite sure who was involved there in that. It looks like it might have been Gonzalo Prieto. It was championship leader on his own, making a mistake, was following the car in front that decided to abandon ship as well, which would have been Nikolai Mikov. So Prieto trying to get the car slowed down, and if you ever got a slick car on a wet surface, it's just going to skid and skid and skid, and they can see just the smallest grab of grass there, and it's enough to turn the car around. So Gonzalo Prieto, I think, may have just got the wrong strategy in play. Dry line starting to form now on the exit of corners, and so now this becomes a very interesting game for everybody now, because I think this might be a case that if you can survive the first 5 minutes, the dry tyre might be the better one out there, and we hit the crossover. Joris Urms looking for a move, and just in front of that, that's Chris Vrajilov here, along with Alex Stefanov fighting for the podium, and Alex Stefanov powers around the outside then to get through. That's Vrajilov, sorry, now back into 5th. Novev now up into 3rd position, and look at the gravel kicking up out of Ascari as everybody in line is bottled up, trying to find their way through in this mid-pack group. Right now, your top 2 clear by 6 seconds, Aby and Ivanov. Then together, we focus with Teodor Ivanov in 6th position, your leading Pro-Am. Right now, just 2 places ahead of Joris Urms in the Mark Speed machine. But keep an eye on Martin Yankov, who will look to try and stay close. There's Gabriel Ivanov making the move for the race lead against Kevin Aby. Aby fights on the brakes, but now around the outside, can the Swiss driver work on the exit? Really fighting between them. Every single piece of pace that is needed to go and get this run vital now as they run out through the Biasino. Turn number 3, fighting at about half a car length, 3/4 of a car length yet to clearance. Yet, but Gabriel Ivanov still holds his nose and holds his nerve, and will have the inside now here for the all-important and critical Della Roggia chicane. Aby has to lift out of it there. Finally, Gabriel Ivanov takes the race lead and does so with a smile, knowing that Kevin Abey is still there behind. Christian Novev third, and Alex Stefanov still fighting in fourth position, trading again with Chris Vrajilov. And where do you want to go if you're Teodor Ivanov right now? Teddy's got to look for any which way that manages it, but gets very squarely on the outside curb there of Lesmo number 1. That brings Martin Yankov into position. Transfer currently is Alej Casanova. You saw his name flash red there a little bit. That would have been an indication of an incident point being picked up. Remember, 17, and you find yourself at a drive-through penalty. Murtol Shaheen moves through back into the transfer as it all goes. Vrajilov gets his 4th place back. Oh, fighting hard going through Adaskari, and that might bring Alex Stefanov into position to go and make this move, and the slipstream becomes important here in these F4 category machines. Looking around, which way are you going to go? Which way is it going to be? It's heavily defended on the inside. Moves late to the outside. Does Alex Stefanov trying to get that launch? It's very tough around the outside of Parabolica and not going to get that line. So, each and every time we see this, we're going to get more and more of this style of racing. Abey now with the overspeed is going to come straight back here to try and get this to work, and defending that middle of the road line on the brakes down to the outside. Gabriel Ivanov falls back into line. Now Alex Stefanov under pressure because this brings Teodor Ivanov into position, searching for the inside. It's not there. Over the curb just in front though, and struggling through the corner went Chris Vrajilov. So Alex Stefanov with a kick out of oversteer, trying to plant his right foot down to the floor, was trying to do everything he possibly could out there. We also note that drivers like Gonzalo Prieto are all the way back now in 23rd position. Straight across the chicane goes Gabriel Ivanov, then trying to defend it against Kevin Abey. He's got the slowdown to try and work with now, but he was fighting side by side. Command of the corner was with Kevin, and Kevin just took the natural line, and Gabriel Ivanov was too late to yield, and as such the position changes, and Kevin Abey confirms that he's got exactly what he wants. We go with Tom Cordy here in 12th position now, and this is just off of the group. He's there with Vladimir Mavrodiev here in 11th, and Gabriel Ivanov's penalty served is going to come straight back up the hill here in towards Ascari once again, and gets the crossover and makes it happen. But look at the way that Christian Novev is hunting them down. It was a 6-second gap, and because they're battling, it's been halved to 3 seconds. Remember, Novev is one of those drivers who started the race on a dry tyre. We are almost at the halfway stage, and with a dry line forming here on the certain parts of this circuit, you're starting to worry between them, millimeters apart, as Gabriel Ivanov has to let it go, and Kevin Abey overshoots at Parabolica. Up and under, pick thine pocket here at the Temple, and ultimately Kevin Abey loses out then on that position, but will move right back into tow and moving about, trying to find an angle, going off the racing surface to try and find that inside line, and manages it then on Gabriel Ivanov, who will now have to go the long way around at the Retafilo to make this work. The way that they're scrapping straight on again is going to go Gabriel Ivanov. He'll have to serve the penalty again, and this time it will be an easy way through for Kevin Abey, who will move through upside down almost there for Murtol Shaheen as he runs in towards the opening section. Alberto Campos had a bird's eye view of that as they were going through the first section. He outbroke himself, and he has completely taken Teodor Ivanov here, who was leading Pro-Am, out of position. He outbreaks himself, he pitches it into a spin, trying to keep it out of trouble, and a passenger there goes Teodor Ivanov, and thankfully the halo going into full effect there in through the opening corner there as the wheel touched down on that carbon fiber device there on the top of the car. Dimitar Palauzov won't be complaining as the leading AM driver, now up to 12th, just getting by there on Milan Milchev. for position as Milen now thinks about this one and tries to go back through, potentially out of the second or the first of the Lesmo corners, grabs gravel though, and that's going to bring the likes of Ivaylo Dimitrov, the championship leader, Nikolai Mikov, Alex Plamanov, Aleix Casanova. They're all there. They all want a way through, and they all want to figure out where it's going. Look at the front of your field though. 1, 2 and 3 are now together, and Kevin Aby has just lost second place here to Christian Novev as he's gone sailing deep from the race lead through Ascari, and now finds himself back in third. So here it is on the replay. He just outbrakes himself slightly going into the Ascari corner. He takes the apex fine, but look at the understeer through the corner. Has to bounce across the gravel, and he does a good job rejoining the circuit then without grabbing anybody else into play. But now Christian Novev has flown by Gabriel Ivanov and now leads this race. So he's gone straight through on the exit of Parabolica and he's just picked up the power and said, I've got grip. Everybody else hasn't. Second half of the race might be for those who's got a dry tyre on at the moment. Chris Vrajilov in fourth, Alex Stefanov in fifth, and Teodor Ivanov now diving down the pit lane with dramas out there. So already showing there he's got the black and orange mechanical flag. So too does Teddy Minev, for example, as well. So he's been involved along as well with Murtol Shaheen. So there are dramas to befall at every point, but Christian Novev, now he's got the lead. Can he hold it? It should, in theory, get easier as this race goes on, as the likes of Chris Vrajilov loses out then that fourth position, and he's gone for a spin at the chicane. So that's at the Della Roggia, and he's dropped back. So Vrajilov now is scrapping with Martin Yankov, the two split by just 4 points in the championship and are together. I doubt we're going to see anybody walking away with 0 instant points, and there is Aleix Casanova trying to figure out if Sweet 16 can become a fantastic 15th position out there. Look at that, just in front of them, as that is going to be the likes of Ivaylo Dimitrov trying to get by Dimitar Palauzov for position for the AM category lead. You can see the scraping of the front nose there for Dimitar Palauzov. Now that is very interesting out there. It indicates there has been some front-on contact in some way, shape or form, and now side by side, can Ivaylo pick it up? You bet he can, because that's straight off for Dimitar Palauzov, and he has to go again, scampering across here, trying to keep the car pointed in a straight line. It was very rallycross style, and Palauzov's going to lose out to Gonzalo Prieto then for that place, and another one gets changed about out there. Christian Novev now clear. Alberto Campos has spun now on the exit of Parabolica corner. Don't often see that, but he's gone a little bit too deep. He's caught the white line on the exit of the corner, and he has gone straight around. So here's Alberto Campos, the Lemon Squad racing car. Well, you'd certainly make a sour face after a spin like that. Very tough for Alberto Campos, who will drop at least 1 place there to Tom Cordy and find himself now in 10th place. So he is on the transfer, which is very worth talking about. This field has massively split, 20 seconds or so over the course of the first 10 or 12 minutes of this race. There are your leaders by category right now. Novev clear, Ivanov in second, Aby currently now in third place, but Christian Novev, I think, has made a very good decision out there on track. 2 cars then abandoning the first chicane, going straight on through. Don't often see that. That is Maxime Dimitrov, who was followed through there by Gabriel Ricciardo, who was trying to avoid dramas then going by. So this is just a case of outbraking yourself into the corner, trying to use the cars in front as a reference marker, and yeah, car just doesn't want to slow down, and the 56 takes the cone with him for confidence and has to weave on through the polystyrene blocks which are there to slow down the cars. But 4 seconds now is the gap at the front, and look at the work that Gonzalo Prieto is doing now that he's got confidence underneath him, doing 2:02s. He's 3 seconds a lap quicker than Ivaylo Dimitrov, for example, in front, and top 10 definitely not out of the realms of possibility now for Gonzalo after being down in 23rd position, struggling in the early stages of this race. But as this track has dried and dried, lightly wet, moves over to the wet side of the circuit here. You can see there the water on the tyres just coming off there of that slick, so that'll be cooling it down, but crucially through on Ivailo Dimitrov. That's now P12, and it might be more because that is the recovered Murtol Shaheen then in trouble, and AB still going for that second place, still wanting that way through, and ultimately still can't quite. Gabriel Ivanov holds, and Joris Ooms now waking up to this battle for Pro-Am. Vladimir Mavrodiev then down the inside, and that is P7 for Mavrodiev to take. So that's another good pass being made into the Retafilo with 5 minutes now to go. A lot of water coming up there behind as they all look to try and find a lane. That was Nikolai Mikov and Aleix Casanova together on circuit running through the opening sections, and the changes then all being found and being found nicely. Dimitar Palauzov again running off through the opening corner, so has to take the slowdown penalty there for the troubles. But keep an eye on the final 5 minutes, because Chris Razlov at 5 seconds back could still have something to say about second and third out there at 4.8 now, back off of your leaders. This is a case of, can the wet tyres hold on? You might see drivers start to move off of the racing line and go somewhere else, looking for water, looking to keep the car cool, making sure there's still enough tread on the tyre. Milen Milchev in 12th place, seeing Gonzalo Prieto through. That's for 11th, and Alex Plamanov is down the inside and gets it done on Nikolai Mikov for position, which puts now Mikov down to 16th, and 15th now for Alex Plamanov in the Technicolor Dreamcoat car, as it will now be christened for time immemorial at this point. So every time you look around at this race, there is still something to race for, and I again want to put the precedent down to second, third and fourth, and I say and fourth because Chris Razalov is at 3.2 seconds back. This for the transfer though, more importantly, Alberto Campos, I doubt he'll fight very hard on this compared to the likes of Gonzalo Prieto, and the move gets made. Prieto up into the top 10. What a recovery drive this is turning into. Too deep on the brakes by Gabriel Ivanov. Kevin Aby goes through, but look at Vrajilov. That gap now is down to under 2 seconds now. Look at Chris Vrajilov drive on the dries. He's got temperature in his tyres, and he is proving now that the dry tyre was the right call out there after starting in 4th position, dropping back with dramas and continuing on. Maxim Dimitrov here in P17. Now looking to try and find a way, and has done on Dimitar Palauzov out there on circuit, and that's a very interesting line from Nikolai Mikov, who's had to abandon the first corner and go straight on into the gravel there on the outside, serve the slowdown penalty and continue on. But there is one Mr. Gabriel Ivanov, who has not relinquished the back of Kevin Aby at any point being overtaken, and again now is going to pull to the outside on the Mafia Racing car. Is this going to be enough to make this move? You can see looking over then as they go underneath the bridge, there's a small bump there that affects certain cars, not so much here in these F4s, but around the outside, Gabriel Ivanov gets his move, but again, it brings Chris Vrajilov into play, looking for second, and by my count of things, with Christian Novev heading to the final corner, this is going to be the last lap of this first race of 2 tonight. Race 5, the halfway stage of the season. Gabriel Ivanov is looking around at Kevin Aby and Chris Vrajilov. Aby around the outside. Vrajilov's got so much more grip in the middle of the corner. Watch on the exit here. He gets by 1. He'll now go around the outside. He's got drive off the exit. He'll get Gabriel Ivanov as well. That's 2 that he goes by at Parabolica into second, starting the final lap. Only he and Yankov have been the 2 drivers who have stayed top 10 at all 4 rounds so far this season. Now looking at a 5th. Ivanov having to go defensive here as Kevin Aby thinks about it. Throw it down deep on the brakes. Everyone trying to find a way through. Aby's got a great launch through the mid part, but can't make anything of that platform and has to stay in line and wait some more. But still, You think about who's making moves where. Gonzalo Prieto, is now up into 7th. He's by Mavrodiev. Wow, what driving here. All right, now Gonzalo Prieto is flying back up now into 7th position, and he might try and get Martin Yankov here on the final lap if he's not careful. Aby still behind Gabriel Ivanov, fighting for the podium. It remains close, but just that close, and there'll be a bit of tow then for Gabriel Ivanov that will certainly help. And there is Joris Ooms trying to find a way for the Pro-Am win in this 5th race of the season, looking at the Della Roggia, and just not there against Vladimir Mavrodiev. He's tried so desperately hard to get that place, and it's not been quite enough. But look at the margin here. It's huge for Christian Novev. Always a gamble when you do the strategy that least people expect you to do. Gonzalo Prieto, I think, was the guinea pig out there in the late stages of qualifying. Christian Novev, it was a team decision with him and Chris Vrajilov out there. But what a smile he'll have through Parabolica. The Temple of Speed, they bow down to him in race 5 of the season. Christian Novev with a dominant win here in a wet to dry race here at Monza. Vrajilov, his teammate on the dry tyres, will take 2nd, but it's not done for 3rd place because Kevin Aby is in a drag race here with Gabriel Ivanov. Ivanov's got the car length and will take the final spot on the podium. Watch out on Martin Yankov, because Gonzalo Prieto is going to have a massive turn of speed off the exit, and he'll get the launch down the inside. Oh my goodness me, it's as if he's seen a ghost. 4.5 seconds on the final lap of race 5, and Martin Yankov has been sniped at the last possible moment. Gonzalo Prieto, P6 from P23 at the 5-minute mark in that race. That is take-a-bow stuff in terms of the way this race has gone. The likes of Joris Ooms has crossed Tom Cordy there as the last of the runners will make their way over towards the line. And we will get confirmation of results waiting on Kenny Campos to be the last finishing car. Well, actually it'll be Eric Wegereif, who has lost the place on the last lap then to Kenny Campos. And that is the scrap for 22nd and 23rd positions in this race. But Wegereif then finding himself in that 23rd spot, exactly where he started. What a race. And my, a great gamble on strategy by Christian Novev and Chris Vrajilov. 1 and 2 from 5th and 4th on the grid. Gabriel Ivanov rounding out your podium then at about 7 seconds away. You then go, 17 seconds back. Kevin Aby, Alex Stefanov, Gonzalo Prieto and co, all there as we move on forward. The likes there of Vladimir Mavrodiev winning Pro-Am in 8th position, down to Tom Cordy, who has the pole in race 2. You've then got Vilo Dimitrov, who took the victory for Am in 13th position. Drivers like Maxim Dimitrov and Aleix Casanova interspersed between them. Few retirees, Teodor Ivanov, Teddy Min and Radlen Ivanov, the big names that didn't find the finish, but ultimately most drivers did find exactly what they needed to. We're going to step aside for just one moment though here when it comes to SimGear. We'll be back with race 6 and the start of the second half of the season after this. So, as it sits, we now bring ourselves in with race number 6 of the season, the last of 2 races here tonight, and it becomes a set of challenges. Tom Cordy will have control of the field with Joris Urms and Vladimir Mavrodiev, the 3 Pro-Ams, 1, 2, and 3. Martin Yankov then from Gonzalo Prieto, the championship leader, walking into today, with Alex Stefanov and Kevin Abey, 6th and 7th. Gabriel Ivanov, Chris Vrajlov, and Christian Novev make up the top 10 with Alberto Campos and Milen Milchev. Then the rest of the field will start cycling on through. You keep an eye on Vilo Dimitrov in 13th position. Maxim Dimitrov's got work to do. Dimitar Palauzov there. Kenny Campos back there. Mursal Shaheen, expect him to try and drive through this field as well. Just the 1 minute to grid up for race number 2, and that will give you all of the setting that is needed and relevant for this final race of the night and the second half of the season kicking itself off. For these drivers, they know this can be a really aggressive race. So who's going to stand on either side and say, this is what we are all made of? The minute ticks around. Cordy on pole in Pro-Am. Yankov on pole in Pro. Am is led by Dimitrov. Lights on. Let's get ready for round 6 of the season. Lights are out and we're underway. It's an absolutely awful start there for Joris Urms, who I think might have a little bit of the wet side of the circuit there. On the right-hand side, he is absolutely swarmed as he goes towards turn number 1. Mavrodiev will challenge Tom Cordy then for position. They hit the brakes and try and give some room. Oh my goodness, Gonzalo Prieto. One car's had to go straight off and along. That's Mavrodiev. But my goodness, Gonzalo Prieto, how on earth did he get that slowed up? That was looking like an accident 5 ways from Sunday into the opening corner, and somehow threads the gap 3 wide on the brake and gets himself through. Just, and I mean just, the chain reaction was enough. But now, here comes the chance for Martin Yankov to go straight back into the De La Rogia. He loses out. Spinners each and every way. Leader goes around. Tom Cordy spun it. Prieto leads. But there was also a spin for one of the 2 drivers. I couldn't tell if it was Vrajlov or Novev. And the answer is, I believe, that is going to be Christian Novev, who finds himself a little bit further down than necessary. It was a big spin for Chris Vrajlov, who drops back. So Vrajlov was the one who got the spin, and all of a sudden this field is completely changed. It's Prieto now who leads this one after half a lap here, and he knows he's got a big group of drivers with him. Yankov, Abey, Alex Stefanov, Alberto Campos up into 5th from 11th on the grid. Through Ascari they go. There are still wet patches out there on the track, so they will be on a line trying to avoid those dramas, and it looks like trouble's back there for the likes of those. Dimitrov, I think, is one of them in trouble, and Valentin Stamenkov, a Vilo Dimitrov, Am category leader, with a big issue going into Ascari. And I think as he hit the brakes, did he come across the back wheel of someone? Yes, he's tiptoed over the front wheel of Valentin Stamenkov, and that's why those 2 have dropped way back in terms of the field. But a lap already in the books as Aleix Casanova hits pit lane. That's a jump start, and already 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different drivers. Chris Vrajlov with the black and orange mechanical flag, so he will not continue his streak of top 10 finishes here today. And straight on into turn 1. There is that Christian Novev there potentially. Yes, it was, who found himself with dramas and as such had to go straight on the first chicane out there. But focus with Yankov, because suddenly it's Gabriel Ivanov who's moved himself up into 2nd, and he's been lightning fast as Gabriel today around Monza here. Doesn't matter if it's been wet or dry, right into the water, trying to get it slowed down. Has he got enough grip to get it slowed up? Oh, you bet. What a fantastic bit of braking by Gabriel Ivanov, who now leads here at Monza. Prieto thinks about a way to get back, doesn't get there. Yankov happy to sit and watch in 3rd. Abey then is in 4th. Alex Stefanov in 5th. Campos 6th. Vrajlov, who will have to come to the pits, is 7th. And look at the group now that starts to form there, with Joris Urms battling Christian Novev for position. Maxim Dimitrov now is your category leader in Pro-Am. Dimitar Palazov leading in 12th position for Am on the back of this as well. So everywhere you look, there is something for someone somewhere. And Amy again for Mappy Racing looks close at the ST car in front of Martin Yankov, who thinks about which way to go. And now they're starting to move and serpentine along the stretch, trying to break the toe, which has become so paramount around here, and more so in the dry than it is in the wet. Lovely switch back to the inside by Alex Stepanov here to try and get by, really fighting tyre to tyre. Kevin Amy's not giving this one up, and Amy will have the train to work with. If Yankov's clever, they'll move over to the right, and they do. So they fight for the toe on the back. It's like watching two children bicker to say it's my turn to play jump rope, and as such, position is Kevin Amy's, but just for now, Martin Yankov almost tangles tyre, gets himself a wiggle as he hits the brakes. Can he get it slowed down? Yes. Is it going to cost him a place to Alex Stepanov, who goes around the outside of Amy? Maybe. But now, here comes the look as they now run up towards the Biasino once again. Yankov, I think, might just yield this one here to his own teammate, and Alex Stepanov will move up to third. A scary moment. Nikolai Mikov now out of the race. Stanchev out. Flamanov, Ivanov, Minev, and Stamenkov are all down in the pits. 3 wide it is now behind, and that is Erms through on Novev, through on Dimitrov, making moves there. So everyone figuring out where to go and make their passes, and wonderfully done. Martin Yankov then back up into third position, because that's a mistake from Gabriel Ivanov, who was leading this field, and now he fights back and he gives a door. He gives himself an elbow over to Martin Yankov, who falls back into fifth. I'm just trying to work out where Gabriel Ivanov lost that. It would have had to have been into Della Roggia, and he did a full 360 actually as he ran in through the corner, overcooked it with the brake balance maybe into the corner, and had to really fight to keep the car pointing the right way. Big slide down the inside as he did all of race 1 against Kevin Amy and goes through, but suddenly the race looks different. Prieto leads, Alex Stepanov in second, and now those two are starting to run away. 3 laps, it's felt like 3 years, starting this closing race of the night. But as they battle and battle and battle, Chris Vrajilov at some point is going to have to come down to pits, because he's got the damage. If he doesn't, he will be black flagged and will be a retirement from this race. And I think he's got 1 more lap to serve it before he does. And so now you're starting to wonder here with Chris Vrajilov if he even does know he's got the penalty there that sits and waits. Side by side for the race lead they go once again. Prieto very much in a case of I'll let Alex Stepanov go, because we've got to work together to keep this group behind, which is really starting to build up again now, because Ivanov holds off Amy, but now Vrajilov's there with Martin Yankov, and now Alberto Campos, and soon Christian Novev and Joris Erms and Milan Milchev and Dimitar Palazov and Maxim Dimitrov, who slow off the exit of the opening corners there. The Retafilo will now bring themselves into position to say we could have a go at getting ourselves through on a wonderful drafting track. Side by side where focuses once again into the corners as Martin Yankov doesn't want to do anything too silly here with Chris Vrajilov, knowing that Vrajilov's got to come by pit lane this time by. Martin Yankov then sitting in that 6th place, Mr. Consistency over the course of this season, hasn't always had the pace. That's a huge kick up behind there going off the curve. That was Maxim Dimitrov there just grabbing the Astro on the outside. You'll still be wet because it will seep in water as you go to the outside. So you've got to really be on a nice line, and the grass will still be wet on the outside, the gravel will still have puddles in it, and pit entry is still going to be soaked as you go through because no cars run through it. Radlen Ivanov right now fighting hard with Murtol Shaheen here, and Shaheen I think is going to have to give this one up, and does. Great work by Radlen then to go and get that pass, and that'll bring Vladimir Mavrodiev into play, and Gabriel Ivanov all of a sudden has worked really hard on this lap, and the two working, Ivanov and AB, have got to the back of Gonzalo Prieto. Alex Stepanov is trying to run away at the front of this field, 9/10 of a second, but toe again will be important, and Vrajilov avoid the pit lane again. So will this now be a black flag penalty that circled? Did he get it on lap 2? I think he may have got it on lap 2. And now, we'll look out. Which way do you want to go? Left or right? Left or right? Left or right? As they go in towards the opening section. Campos into the side of Brajilov, who maybe should have hit pits earlier. Everyone has to scramble out of the way. There's another spinner down at the first corner. That's Dimitar Palauzov, who was there. That will now promote Ricardo up. Aleix Casanova now has got a black flag penalty, I assume only for incident. 17 already, and now he's going to be down in the pits, having to serve that, or maybe even a failed slowdown penalty that has been served. So drama all throughout the field. Gabriel Ricciardo now behind Lazar Kaczarski in 11th place, who is now your leader in category for AMS right now. Gabriel Ivanov trying to work her way around the outside here to hope that there is a chance to go through. But now he's left the door open. Kevin Abey, oh, he sneaks his way down the inside. Saw that they were fighting hard into the first of the 2 Lesbo corners. And the second he says, yoink, I'll take that one, and move up another place. Alberto Campos side by side with Martin Yankov. Mr. Consistency on the outside, having to fight for his position really hard, and he wins the duel as he goes down the inside. Novev on the back of this. Milan Milchev on the back as well with Joris Ooms. They're thinking big point picture right now in Pro-Am, and Ooms, who of course walked into today as the Pro-Am category leader. This is a huge chance to build some points. Looking around at those drivers who struggled, like Teddy Ivanov here today, this could be massive. But now on the brakes into that Parabolica corner, it is Novev who beats out Campos. Milchev beats out Joris Ooms, and Kevin Abey are looking to eye up a pass here and get by on Gonzalo Prieto. This would be for second as Gabriel Ivanov forced the issue 3 wide. No, he's going to bump draft him. He's going to bump draft him along the straight into the opening corner to get both of them through into second and third. Oh, how smart by Gabriel Ivanov, using the old NASCAR tactics to try and get this move done. Oh, you love it. You absolutely love to see it, and wonderfully constructed there. Brajilov, by the way, down into the pits now and getting his service as Christian Novev fights hard still with Alberto Campos at just over halfway in this race. Gabriel Ivanov switching the beams, looking to the inside on Kevin Abey, and Abey again. Oh, bye-bye! Round goes Gabriel Ivanov, and he finds himself pointing the wrong way for the second time at the Della Rogier. It's his bogey corner on the lap, and he's now behind Joris Ooms, Milan Milchev, Alberto Campos, and Christian Novev. So Stefanov, Abey, and Prieto now becomes your top 3. Yankov on an island on his own in position number 4, and then Christian Novev in 5th place, trying to charge back through from 10th after winning the opening race. On board with Milan Milchev here, who is the leader of your Pro-Am category division, with Joris Ooms in championship leader. They're right behind for Mark Speed Racing. On the brakes, still having to deal with puddles going through at Ascari. Drainage becoming a little bit difficult, but it is still going on out right now. Very lightly wet is what the track is called, so they are still getting a little bit of water spray that kicks up in certain sections of the circuit, but they are still battling through. Prieto losing out now to Kevin Abey, but these two have to work together to keep Alex Stefanov from running away. Gonzalo Prieto will desperately want the points to keep his margin alive. He knows it's Martin Yankov he's slowly building that gap against at the moment, with Chris Brajilov in trouble. He's also got to keep note of Christian Novev in the championship fight. Outside line looking, Gonzalo Prieto sweeping around, takes that place, gets a big kick going through the middle of the corner, and now look out behind. Oh, Christian Novev everywhere he looks. The Lemon Squad car there of Alberto Campos doing the greater amount of good. He's almost like Atlas, holding the weight of the world up at the moment, doing what he can at this stage. Abey very heavy on the attack, trying to find a way through. Will have to think better of it at the Della Rogia right now, and the more that they scrap amongst each other, the more they'll allow Alex Stefanov to go and move to that 1 second. So Abey's got to think bigger picture here. He can't be too aggressive with a very aggressive driver like Gonzalo Prieto, who grabs a little bit of the curb on the outside, and the gap extends out to 1.1 seconds at this point here as they work on the 13th minute of this race coming along, heading into the final third. Out there, Novev and Milchev are now really having a scrap here. So now, look at the drive from Milan Milchev, trying to get this to work through the Seraglio, back up the hill once again under the banking to the circuit. Milan Milchev gets his place. So Christian Novev, who was fighting so hard with Campos earlier on, all of a sudden finding that Alberto Campos has disappeared back to pits. So Alberto then with all sorts of trouble, no front wheel as he went through. I think he's had a tangle somewhere. He has. There was contact between them on the exit of the opening of the Curva Biasino. And Alberto Campos has gone screaming into the Armco and out. So Christian Novev might have something to answer for with the stewards, which is all done post-race. Novev now looking back again for 5th place and trying to hold that. Milan Milchev then hoping to get that, but Prieto now falls behind, but Alex Stefanov is starting to build that margin, 1.3. It now becomes at the front of the field, and Milchev really backing out, because look at Gabriel Ivanov trying to throw it down the inside. There's a small tap between them, and Ivanov nibbling away at the tyre. There, that Pirelli of Christian Novev having a way of trying to say, I would quite like that one, and not quite managing it there, but through the Biasino they go. Once again, heading towards the Della Roggia chicane here, which comes along next, over to the right-hand side, hoping there's going to be a way. But again, patience will prevail for the best out there, and a corner that has bitten twice on Gabriel Ivanov. He would not want it to be 3rd time's the charm in any way, shape or form. And just looking here at how they go, look at the run off the exit. Gabriel Ivanov opening up the second of the 2 Lesmo corners, and once more it does not work. Drive off the exit. Look at Milan Milchev go. He gets a great run. And now it's a case of, well, if it's not one, it's the other. Right now as they battle, rain lights are still mandatorily on at the moment, because there is still wet conditions out there underfoot. It's not declared dry yet, so they still have to have the rain light flashing on the back. It's not an indicator of any form of energy recovery system or the like. But again, it remains close, and still you got Tom Cordy, who, remember, started on pole position, trying to fight back through after his spin, unprompted from the race lead, must be said, through on Lazar Katsarsky. That is a front wing. That is a front wing. That is Valentin Stemenkov, who is off the road after finding himself in the barriers, very much doing what Martin Kroenke did once upon a time in the World Championship Grand Prix Series. So that certainly hurts quite a bit. Now under 4 minutes, or heading towards 4 minutes to go, and they might fan out 3 wide here to try and get this to work. They do. Milchev then trying to work with Novev, with Ivanov here. They all work together on the brakes. Oh, Milchev was way early on that. Novev in second. Gabriel Ivanov gets it done and moves into 5th, but keep an eye on the front, because Alex Stefanov only now has 0.8 of a second, and Kevin Aby is working the slipstream hard to make sure he keeps himself in check at the moment here to get any amount of place to go hunting for a victory. Runs a little wide through the corner, has to gather it back up again, and that gap becomes 0.9 once more. Novev having another look here and needing every single point, not having any love right now with Gabriel Ivanov or Milan Milchev here, because the 2 teammates will try and work in their best interest. Maxim Dimitrov trying to get by Lazar Katsarsky in the mock-up Renault at the moment, and will manage that one. So lovely job to go and get that pass sorted. Katsarsky falls back. Gabriel Ricciardo is just in front, and remember, Radlen Ivanov is 9th and the leader right now in AM category. So those are big points to start finding. Christian Novev will have to go around the outside at Ascari, but waits on the corner, trying to get drive off the exit. It'll be slow here for Gabriel Ivanov through the 2nd and 3rd parts of Ascari. The setup absolutely wonderful, and now here comes the launch. So here comes Novev moving to that left-hand side, trying to make it work, right side of screen. And if he can go around the outside, that's certainly going to pay off. But I'm sure Gabriel Ivanov's going to be more aggressive into the turn, and does so gets the drive that's needed. Might burn a little bit more of Pirelli rubber, but by doing so, he holds the place, but will have to defend again, now on the front stretch, and again, it's going to bring Milan Milchev in with a rate of overspeed to think, well, where do I go? And once more, he says, outside it's going to have to be. Look at that, next to no room, as they head down towards the opening corners. Again, Milchev's the one that breaks out first. Christian Novev this time wins the run into the brakes, and now gets a little bit caught up through the middle, and it's attack back now as they sit with 2 laps to go here in this race. Kevin Abey will still be watching the likes of Gonzalo Prieto, and Radlin Ivanov loses his 9th place position there as Joris Oom will see, behind him now that Tom Cordy is in play, and that puts him up now into 9th. Good recovery as they go. Ivanov through on the run to the second chicane, the Della Roggia. Christian Novev, not much he can do but sit, but stare, but watch, but see that Milan Milchev will still want to try and find a way through. But if Milan Milchev wants to get by both of these drivers, he's going to have to be a bit of a brave boy out there. He's going to have to go later on the brakes and trust that it works. And I am looking at Christian Novev's front wing there, actually, and that did not look the most healthy in the world on the front right side, and that might be why Gabriel Ivanov's got the same. It's a clean wing for Milan Milchev, and it might be a case of the walking wounded outside of those inside the top 4 at this moment. Joris Ooms is certainly another one of them who's walking without a front wing that's playing ball. Maxim Dimitrov exactly the same, but Gonzalo Prieto now, as they move over towards the final lap of this race, will be thinking about second. Kevin Abey will still think there's an outside shot of chasing down Alex Stefanov, and there is Milan Milchev trying to throw his car down the inside and figure there's a way through against the likes of Christian Novev. Not quite finding it. Abey's under pressure now. Gonzalo Prieto walked into today as championship leader. He's had to work so hard through the first race to get himself into play. The second race now fighting for that podium, but no direct challengers to his championship then is with him. Here's the fight with some who are, as Gabriel Ivanov throws it down in. Novev then still holds against Milchev. Traffic of Kenny Campos to try and get by for these 3 as they manage it. Half a second now becomes the gap between Stefanov and Abey. Abey is trying to time this late in terms of getting the victory overall. Christian Novev now again continuing to get close. Alex Stefanov's had a poor corner through the Della Roggia, and Kevin Abey's all over the back of him here. He's been playing possum for the longest time, and now he wakes up. He thinks, how do I pounce, as he goes through the right corner, then going through the second of the 2 Lesmo corners. The Saraglio rise that comes up to Ascari is going to be massive between them. Kevin Abey, which way do you want to go? Is it left or it's right? It will have to be the road hard travelled, the long way around, heading to Ascari. It's held on the inside by Alex Stefanov, who runs deep, and around the outside of the second part, through the water, goes Kevin Abey. Oh, there's contact. Round goes Alex Stefanov. Gonzalo Prieto is going to go straight through. He sights his way on by. Oh, that's the mark of a champion. Knowing he couldn't pick up the victory, knowing he'd leave these top 2 to battle up against each other, he sneaks away through. And now a parabolica. He's just a corner away. And Kevin Abey will feel red in the face right now, as red as the Swiss flag he races under, because it is Gonzalo Prieto who comes to the line and wins in race 6 of the season. Oh my goodness, that is a heist, an absolute heist. Novev will come home in 5th. It's Yankov in 4th. A battle between teammates. Gabriel Ivanov will best out Milan Milchev over the line. But oh my goodness me, that just shows you what pressure does, and Alex Stefanov in 3rd place will be kicking himself that he's lost the race that way, knowing that he did so much of the work to stay in front, let the opportunity in, and ultimately the contact that's there. We'll take another look then here on your SimGear Live replay, and this tells you all you need to know. Abey trying to work on the outside to give himself that run, to give himself the look to go on through. Battles on the brakes, doesn't quite manage it then, tries to go up and under, and now they're fighting for that one piece of real estate then, the apex they go through. There's initially contact as they went through the corner, and there, over the anti-cut curb, that opens up the contact then between him and Alex Stefanov, and Stefanov at that point Either he's got to leave a tiny bit more room, or Kevin Aby's got to lift out. And I think Aby here realizes he's painted himself into a corner trying to go for that move. And so that is how it sits. But your finishers all over the line now. Let's take a little look at results from this race. Gonzalo Prieto, 21 minutes, 19 seconds. And that might be the race that will highlight his run towards a championship. Fifth to first, he wins by 0.2 of a second over Kevin Aby, with Alex Stefanov rounding out the final spot on the podium. The last car over the line, Aleix Casanova, as Martin Yankov will finish off again in fourth, keeping the consistency value high, as Christian Novev is fifth and Gabriel Ivanov is in sixth position. He would just edge out Milen Milchev there for seventh, as eighth would belong to Joris Ooms, and Tom Cordy will finish off in ninth position. Top 10 rounded out by your AM category winner there, Radlen Ivanov, with Gabriel Ricciardo in 11th and Maxim Dimitrov there in 12th. Lazar Katsarski and Eric Veherai for the last cars within a minute, as the likes of Chris Farajlov, who had to go into the pits to serve the black flag penalty that he had, the mechanical damage. Vilo Dimitrov and Aleix Casanova will be the finishers. Kenny Campos, the last car, one lap down, but retirees for Alberto Campos, Murtol Shaheen, likes of Dimitar Palazov, Vladimir Mavrodiev, Teddy Minev, and Valentin Stemenkov then on lap 4. And then the opening lap took Nikolai Mikov, Teddy Ivanov, Teodor Ivanov, that is, and Alex Plamanov in Technicolor Dreamcoat coloured car out there. So a lot to dissect, a lot to unpack, and a lot that can be said as we head ourselves over to the SimGear press conference in the next couple of moments. That's the jump, and you don't get much more decisive than that. That's a whole car. You can tease anyone and say that you haven't jumped the start, but that there is probably about as big of a jump start as you could possibly see. We got Kevin Aby sat here already waiting to have a little bit of a conversation with us. Let's try and drag him in and get his thoughts first and foremost. Right up at the front for the majority of the racing action, Kevin, a case of two potential victories there. Fastest car in qualifying, but strategy in race 1 takes you out of it, and here in race 2, a very hard-fought battle on the last lap. Kevin, do we have a copy?
Yeah, I mean, obviously in qualifying, it went pretty well. Fastest car on track. Race 1 was just a gamble if it's dry enough to go in slicks or if I should stay on wets, and I decided the wrong way. I went on wets. Yeah, race 2 was pretty intense, pretty hard fighting. I'm not sure last lap if everything was clean or if it's my fault or if it's just a race accident. But in the end, it's second place for me, and I take that for the championship. And it's 2 hard races, but 2 good races. And we can just focus on the next race and then do better.
How much pressure is there on you to go and deliver race in and race out now after the 2 non-starts at Okayama?
Yeah, I missed the starts in Okayama because I was in Monza myself. So yeah, hard one, but I just can give my best and have to push as hard as I can to score as far in the front as I can.
Well, the good news for you is that there is going to be a little bit of a break at this point in terms of the championship before it jumps along a little bit further back in terms of season. So as far as things go, Monza done with. We'll come back on the 13th of July for Alton Park. Much different as a circuit, Monza to Alton. How do you feel about that circuit?
I've not raced too much in F4 there, but I know the track, so I know where to go. And now it's just analyzing the mistakes I've done here in Monza and not doing them again in the next race.
Well, we will wish you the best of luck. Kevin Aby coming over to the line and picking up both a 4th place and a 2nd place finish. We've got Gonzalo Prieto here. We know, Gonzalo, that your English isn't the greatest. I know you've got your teammate Aleix Casanova here. Aleix, I wonder if, and I know it's going to be on the fly, whether we can do some English to Spanish translation.
It's a really good, really difficult to translate, but I can do it.
Well, let's give it a go. Gonzalo, You were 23rd coming into 5 minutes in that race one and managed to get it back to 6th. How critical was that for your championship?
¿Cómo de crítico ha sido para tu campeonato salir desde la P26 y remontar un montón, básicamente?
Al principio me he puesto muy nervioso, ha sido muy complicado, pero he tenido paciencia y sabía que mi momento iba a llegar. Y así ha sido.
Gonzalo says that it's really difficult, but he puts so nervous, but with her passion and her skills, can do it possible.
And let's talk the final lap of this feature race, because you were very much third going into that final lap. Kevin decides he wants to drive right up to the back of Alex Stefanov. The incident happens and you're there to capitalize.
Te está hablando básicamente del incidente de la última carrera que te has adelantado a los terceros, a los segundos y primeros.
Bueno, pues ha sido impresionante, no me lo esperaba y acabar ganando la carrera ha sido increíble. La verdad que estaba muy nervioso, sabía que se podían tocar, he pasado rozando al primero en ese momento, pero bueno, resultado justo y merecido después de la lucha.
Gonzalo says that he was so nervous. He thinks that Kevin and the other coach, he thinks is amazing, and won the race in Monza for him is so important.
And so now you're building on that championship lead. You've got a tiny break to deal with before Alton Park comes along in 2 weeks. Now that you've got 4 races left in the season, how important is that practice going to be to giving yourself the best platform to attack at Alton?
Te está hablando básicamente de que faltan 4 carreras y cómo lo vas a preparar básicamente para seguir siendo líder y continuar tu dominancia.
Bueno, pues intentar hacer lo posible en Alton Park, que no se me da muy bien, e intentar cerrar la victoria del campeonato en Nürburgring, aunque mis rivales son muy buenos. Enhorabuena a ellos también.
He says that he want to practice a lot, but Alton Park for him is so difficult because he don't know the track some, and says that it will be difficult to be first all the races. And congratulations for all the drivers because it's so difficult race with him.
Gonzalo Prieto there joining us and picking up a 6th place and a win in race 6 there of the season. A pleasure to have him there. Aleix Casanova doing the translations. Aleix, we'll just touch on with you quickly on your races, because you had yourself a difficult day, 14th to 14th and then 14th to 17th, a day mired in the mid-pack.
Man, I want to cry a lot. I think Monza will be a good race for me, and it will be a disaster, man. It's incredible. The first race, I can do a P9 or P10, and I go out of the track. It's incredible. And the second race, I do a jump start. I enter to the box. I do drive through, and it's a 13 seconds halt start. And I another time enter to the pitch, and then I crash in the last lap with Campos, with Kenny Campos. I think I don't want to remember that race for Alton, and it's so incredible.
Well, races to forget. So a quick memory. Do you feel like Alton's going to be one where happier memories will come along for you?
I don't want to say that because the last day I have a lot. I don't want to say that. I think I will practice a lot and see what happens.
Well, we wish you the best of luck. Aleix Casanova there, 14th and 17th over the course of the 2 races. Let's talk to Alex Stefanov now, who has joined us now, was in the lead heading into what was 2 corners to go. And Alex, I think after the end of that, the question that you might be asking is, how on earth have you ended up with 3rd?
I don't know. We had a contact with Kevin, and it's a race. I don't know. Congratulations to Kevin and to the other drivers. But yeah, it happens.
Coming into this, you're looking around, you're there maybe trying to help Martin Yankov out a bit, stage hunt for those victories. What was the big difficulty today with a drying track? Because it doesn't look like it's very easy out there, having to go from, is it wet enough or is it dry enough for dry tyres each and every time you're going around? So what was the big challenge for you today over the course of these 2 races?
Yeah, on the first race, actually, I didn't play well with my strategy. I started with wet tires, but actually, I could do it with dry tires, and yeah, maybe fight for the podium.
Well, the fighting, I think, is very important to have. It was, of course, your first start of the season. So my question asks is, are you going to be back in 2 weeks to tackle Alton Park?
Yeah, well, I have to practice more for Autumn Park, and let's see what we can make with Martin Yankov.
Well, let's see what happens. Alex Stefanov there joining us and picking up ultimately today a 5th and a 3rd place over the course of racing action, which leads us over to Radlen Ivanov, who's had a very up and down style race, having an issue on the opening laps in race 1, but battling all the way back to 10th and the AM category victory in race number 2. Radlen, let's talk about what happened at Parabolica first and foremost in race 1, because that one, I think you were just on the outside in the wrong place at the wrong time.
I was with the dry tires, and due to being on the dry tires, everyone was just way quicker. So it's partially my fault, but no one is thinking about that there is a long straight coming and they can get me on the straight, for example. But it is what it is. I take notes and I be careful next time.
And so making that recovery, starting back in 27th on the grid, trying to work through car after car after car, was that a fun challenge for you to make up those 17 places, or was that a case of you were constantly looking in your mirror, seeing anyone was going to attack back?
Certainly, it was a loads of fun. I managed to battle some of the pro drivers. I'm quite happy, honestly. I'm actually happy that I didn't finish the first race, so I had all that challenge in the second race.
And so let's talk championship for you, because AM category, you walked into today 3rd in the championship, 26 points down. That first race certainly wouldn't help you against Ivilo Dimitrov and Nikolai Mikov, but you certainly do pick the points back up. Do you feel like consistency is going to be important now with these final 4 rounds of the season coming up?
To be fair with you, Paul, I don't really look after the championship. I'm just coming on Sundays to have fun. Most of the times I have almost zero practice, like half an hour practice most. So I don't really mess up with the championship. It is what it is. I don't mind the final result. I'm just here for the fun, that's all.
Each to their own. Of course, this is a fun Summer Cup, and that is certainly being shown by Radlen Ivanov here at the moment. A case of 27th and 10th here today around racing action from Monza, which will bring to a close the racing action that we now have available to everybody here from this Autodromo Nazionale Monza. It's called the Temple of Speed for a very good reason. It is one of the quickest circuits in the world, and they will never build a circuit like this one again. It has been on top of the world for certain drivers in possibly some of the most difficult conditions imaginable on a wet track, drying to dry. It's been about strategy, it's been about placement, it's been about timing, and it's been about fortune as well. And it favors those drivers who are brave, who are cunning, and sometimes who are patient as well. Gonzalo Prieto will take some very, very big points coming out of here. But Martin Yankov still looms large and still is within striking range. Chris Vasilov will feel a little bit hard done by with that black and orange mechanical flag taking a big dent out of what was hoping to be for him a chance to make a championship push. But there is a break that comes along. They will not race next week. They will race the week after. We will see you July 13th for the 4th round of the 4th round of the championship, the 7th and 8th races of your SIMGEAR F4 Summer Challenge. Because when we come back to racing action with you here at SIMGEAR, it's going to be a case of how do they tackle one of England's finest national circuits. We'll see you in Little Budworth in Cheshire as we get ready for Alton Park.